Good morning, everyone. This is sig-aws. Today is November 3rd, 2017. Happy Friday, everyone. And we have a couple of items on the agenda. Please do add any other items you already have. But first off, we have a very exciting item, which is Micah is going to give us a demo of the NLB support he has been working on. So
Yeah.
over to you.
Thanks. So in working on this, I've realized that there's a couple fixes I need to make, but I will show today creating an NLB and getting traffic to it. So how do I share my screen? Just share screen. All right. Desktop, we'll just share that. Everyone see this? We're good? All right. So what I'm going to do, I've got a small KubeADM cluster I just created in Amazon. If we go to EC2, okay, just two nodes. They're both called Kubernetes master, but one's a master, one's a worker. And I have overridden the controller manager pod with my fork. So that's going to be running the controller manager to create the NLB. So I've got, this is a little bit of a hack, and this is not going to be the final deployment structure. I'm going to end up supporting only local cluster traffic, but I'm going to show off just a deployment and a service really quick. So this deployment, we're creating, I got like a little Go application that just reports back, here's your
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we... Micah, you there?
Yes. Oh, can you hear me?
We lost you for, I guess, 30 seconds there.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to be creating a deployment and a service really quick. Can you still hear me? We're good?
We can, and yes, I think that was where we're just deploying. Yeah, talking about the deployment, yes, I think that's the right spot, yes.
Everyone frozen. Dang it.
Micah, why don't you try turning off your video camera? Maybe that will give enough. Maybe it's a bandwidth issue, I don't know. Hypothesizing.
Well, we're waiting for him. I just want to express how excited I am about the NLB stuff coming in. All right, cool.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to jump off and jump right back on. I'm on a VPN and that's messing stuff up.
Okay, cool.
So we at Heptio announced this project called Contour, which is an ingress controller based on Envoy. And one of the things that I did as part of that was play around with getting NLB set up to go to Contour running using host networking to reduce the number of hops. And it ends up being a much shorter path, and I think it's going to be a great solution as this stuff gets more mature.
Okay,
Trying to fill time here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
No worries, man. I really want to see the demo. Greg, your audio is totally screwed up. Oh God, it sounds like a chipmunk. It's so bad. Do I sound like Darth Vader to you? Because a lot of times it ends up being no. Okay.
Wow, that is bad.
You're going to want to watch the recording on that one, Greg. Here's the manual NLB instructions that I put together for that. So this is the pain that will be eliminated when this stuff goes in.
Okay, can y'all see my screen now? You can hear me fine? Okay, sorry about the interruption. So I'll start over. I've got just a 2-node cluster running in AWS, and this is actually, just for clarity, it's a worker. Okay, so I'm just going to create recover. a service, first the deployment that has a host port of 30,001, and then a service that maps to that with NLB set to true. So okay, creating the deployment. Pod is running. And then I'll also show there's no rabbit up my sleeve. Do not have any load balancers up and running. No network load balancers. There's just an internal load balancer. All right, so I'm going to apply that service, and momentarily we will see load balancer coming online, provisioning, and we've also got a target group mapped to that port that we specified. It's got the target, which is our worker node, specified by instance ID. It's got an automatic health check with just TCP. That's going to need to be updated for the only local services so that we can do the source NAT correctly. But waiting for that, it'll take just a second for this to provision, for the load balancer to provision, and for the health check to register on the node. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is actually copy this over, and so you guys can check this out too. Where move that? Okay, we're just going to hop over. Okay. So I'm just going to create a DNS record for that, pointing to that load balancer, so you don't have to hit the whole load balancer. So I'm creating just demo.squid.blue. We'll go to that load balancer. Again, that'll take a second for the DNS to register and for the load balancer to come online. But actually, if we can go on this, on the Kubernetes master, and see we've got a load balancer on that service. So again, it takes a minute for NLB to come online and for the health check to all register out. Still marked as provisioning.
So while this is provisioning, are you also, I assume, like the way you set up security groups is pretty different with NLB?
It is,
right? That's the big thing here, right?
Yeah, I'll go. That's a good point. I'll go over that really quick. So with classic ELB, what Kubernetes does is it creates a security group, or you specify one for the ELB, and then whitelists from the ELB security group to the instance security group traffic. And that's really helpful in some ways for cleanup, because you can just look, what are all the security groups, node security groups I have that have a rule to my ELB security group. And with NLB, the way Amazon has it set up is that you have a whitelist for your node port, essentially, from the VPC for health checks, and then whatever client addresses to you have to whitelist from whatever the client address is, like the public IP, to the instance. So what I've done is, let me bounce over to okay, this is the group I've got. I've got two predefined rules for all traffic intra cluster, all traffic from my home IP and from my VPN. But Kubernetes, what I've done is just sort of overloaded this description field with a client description for client traffic, and then a health check description, and then a rule for MTU discovery. So that's kind of the field I'm using to signal to Kubernetes for creation and cleanup. What IP ranges are allowed, and so we can correctly clean those up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think one of the implications here is, and this is one of those things that is a bit scary, is if you do default things like startup instances on a public subnet with public IP addresses, then after you do this, you can reach those instances directly without going through the load balancer, right? So this is actually like, you're kind of like opening up instances directly outside the load balancer. So it really means that you want to make sure those nodes don't have public IP addresses, or they're on a private subnet. And not everything does that, right?
Exactly.
So there's some big red flashing warning signs here for users depending on how they've set up their networks, right?
Totally right.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure, because I did it, and I want to make sure I'm not misinterpreting it, because it's kind of scary.
No, that's my understanding too. If we go back to load balancers, we'll see if that's provisioned. Okay, that's active. Let's check the target group. And target is healthy. Okay, so we've created that DNS alias record. So you all are welcome to go hit demo.squid.blue on HTTP. And you should get back your IP address. So that is the main part of the demo. We'll show one other use case that I'm currently like mid process of fixing, which is the local only traffic. Let me go ahead and delete. Well, I don't need to delete that. Okay, we're going to recall. So that's recall that. Okay, so what I'm doing is now creating a deployment on the left that doesn't use host network and actually just uses whatever port the pod wants. I'm just specifying 3000 in this case. And then over here on the service, I'm going to create a service with external traffic policy set to local. So let me go ahead and just so we don't have any problems. Delete the other one we just created. Right, one moment. Okay. Okay, so created a deployment. We should have that pod running. There it is. And if we get you'll see that has a pod IP. And then if so I'm going to have to manually go into Amazon to fix this, but I'm writing the controller such that it'll automatically do this. Okay, so when you specify host only or external traffic policy to local, Kubernetes creates you a health check. So I'm going to have to go in really quick and manually edit this on this guy, override. So at that port, I'm going to have to authorize a security group. Again, this will all be automated. I just haven't quite finished this yet. I'm going to do TCP from my VPC for manual host health check. Okay, so that will allow the network load balancer health check to hit the Kubernetes proxy on an alternate port for a health check, so that we can do a source NAT, basically, so that the end pod doesn't have to manually allocate that node port. Okay, it's initial registration. If we go to load balancers and look at this new load balancer I just created, it's provisioning. The old one's deleted, the teardown deleted it, and the associated rules. Actually refresh really quick. See, okay. All right. Still provisioning. I'm going to actually create that DNS again on this new load balancer. Okay, so that will take a second. Okay, it's not going yet. We're not fully provisioned. Okay, that's active. Let's check the target group. Still in initial, so that's still registering. So we can see. Did that work?
I can put another minute here, which is I think also that there's a, the other issue is going to be the number of security groups, security group rules you're allowed on the security.
Yeah, that you're totally right. This is adding 3 rules per network load balancer. So that does give you, I mean, that does.
But also per network load balancer per CIDR, right? Like in theory, you can have.
Yes,
yeah.
Per CIDR. Because if you're specifying the, what is it? I forget which field on the service spec for hosts, for client CIDR ranges. This is, yeah, you're right. It's per port, per backend port that you have, you're going to have well, if you do host only, or host external traffic policy as local, you're just going to have one health check port because it's one port for all the backend services. But if you have multiple ports on your service, you're going to have, and you don't have the external traffic policy set to local, you're going to have a health check per backend port, and you're going to have a CIDR per front end port. So that's definitely something to be aware of. There's a lot of gotchas with this in that case.
Well, and we do have those. We have similar limitations today for,
yep,
you know, just in different formats, like on the number of security groups you can have at a VPC and number of security groups you can attach to an instance. So yeah, it's just different dimensions that we need to be aware of.
Yep.
Now, so you're modifying the security group that's already on the node versus creating a new security group, right?
That's right, because that's how NLB works.
Well, you could create a new security group and attach that to the node then also, right?
Yeah, I guess you could do that. I had not thought about that. That's definitely a possibility. I mean, I could definitely rework to include that and just have I guess create
Yeah, but then if the cluster shrinks or grow, or if it grows, you're going to have to go through and actually modify the security group to actually have traffic hit that new node.
That's right.
Right there. But there then is the assumption here. So are you going through and you're finding all the security groups for across all of the nodes, finding the sort of unique set of those security groups and then modifying those?
Yeah.
Okay. So that way, if you have different node pools with different security groups, you're modifying both sets of node pools.
That's correct. I'm basically doing what, like, I kind of copied what the current ELB is doing, just getting all those security groups and modifying those as needed. So yeah, that's kind of the demo. I guess, you guys have any other feedback on, like, I mean, that's a really good thought. Do you think that that's worth adding a new security group per, I don't know, per NLB or?
So one thing that you might, so if you're doing host networking, you're naming the port explicitly, it might be worthwhile having an annotation that says, don't muck with security groups at all. Trust me, I got this, right? Because in that case, you know, you may want to like at least have an escape to be able to turn that stuff off, just because mucking with security groups is like a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
So that might be a safety thing to have, is like if somebody's hitting a problem, you can at least, you know, let them solve it themselves.
Right.
And I'd be very much in favor of that. I don't think it has to go into the NLBPR, right?
Okay.
Sounds like this PR is not going to be a small one to review anyway. Looking.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not trying. I'm just thinking like, what are some sort of defensive things to think about here? That's all.
Yep. That's a really good point. Yeah. I think for the initial PR, we can leave it as is and then add, the same way that we specify, you can specify for classic load balancers, like this is my one security group for load balancers. We could do something very similar and attach that SG to all the instances that you specify.
Yeah. And the other thing that I noticed is in the host networking case, you created a security group rule entry for both the health check port, health check range and the IP range. At some point, it might be worth doing the enhancement to actually say, hey, is one a subset of the other, and actually collapse that down, right? Because like a common case is going to be like, hey, like open this stuff up to the world, right? In which case, the world needs your subnet, right? For people to find this stuff, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, no, that would make it just easier to. Yeah, just less security groups. You're totally right. And the one other thing too I'm doing is I'm not consolidating target groups based on the backend port. So say you have 443 or 8080 to 80 and 80 to 80. There's two target groups right now. It's a little bit easier to reason about in terms of cleanup, but like there's no reason we couldn't consolidate that. So you just have less target groups as well. Because
it all sounds like optimizations for later.
Exactly. Yep. No, exactly. It's yeah. So that's kind of the demo. Is there any other questions or feedback or anything from anyone? Thanks, guys.
That was awesome. Thank you, Micah. I am looking forward to reviewing that PR, and yeah, hopefully we can get it in soon. I think the SDK bump finally landed, although I understand it did not include the directories we actually needed, which is frustrating.
Yeah, the ELB v2 package wasn't in use anywhere, so it omitted that.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. At least the version's there, so I don't have to do a version bump. It shouldn't be too bad to get that to pass.
What's been so painful about getting the new dependency in? Is it just finding an improver, or?
Oh, it's in now. It's just that it's to the correct version, but GoDep if you have a package in that.
Right. No, but I mean, like, what took it so long? Was it just finding the improver, or just the fact that like rebase hell, or what?
It was all of the above. It was tests flaking, improver delays, like other GoDep issues, rebases, and just took 3 weeks.
I mean, I do have approval ability for like vendor stuff, so poke me on Slack if you need me to. Something.
Thank you. But yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully that won't be painful.
It just serves as motivation to like get us off GoDeps at some stage, right? One happy day. Anyway, next on the agenda, I see Arun. You have the Kubernetes on AWS workshop. Do you want to discuss that? Oh wait, I don't actually see you on. Oh, that's because I'm looking at the wrong week. Never mind.
Like we talked about that last week. Are we going to talk about it again?
It's great. Everyone should check it out. It's like well worth looking at. I will recap that it is good, and it's going to be like a good like. It starts at Kubernetes 101, and then it goes up from there. And I haven't seen it that information collated anywhere else. So it is a nice piece of like how to get from Kubernetes on up to like actually using it in production. So it's a good thing for everyone to check out. Does anyone else have anything they would like to discuss or add to the agenda or bring up?
I have one follow-up question. Is there a stated 1.9 feature free state? I just haven't been able to find it or look that hard.
There's a code freeze date, which is I think in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. But I think the feature freeze is long past, but I'm pretty sure we got this in anyway. If we screwed that up technically, then we will address that. But I'm pretty sure we mentioned this. So this was well known, and yeah, I think I imagine we'll try to get this in. So the current triggering mechanism, I haven't looked in detail. I'm sorry. Is how do I opt into NLB as opposed to ELB?
Mm-hmm. And that's just an annotation.
Okay. And so as long as that annotation, yeah, so then it's opt-in, so we can, there should be no impact for people that are not using it, so I don't think we have a problem getting it in.
Cool. Thanks.
And we'll call it alpha. Whether or not we make the annotation alpha is a broader discussion, which I don't particularly want to have again. I don't know if anyone else has anything else they want to discuss. Otherwise, we just have a awesome demo on a Friday and everyone gets an extra 20 minutes, 25 minutes back. Well, that's great. I presume everyone is excited about the upcoming AWS, I call it release season, or sort of like the Oscars season for the cloud, where all the good features get dumped out in the next 2 months. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting couple of months, and I will hope to see everyone at KubeCon. I'm sure a lot of people will be at something interesting. I guess I'm personally not going to reInvent, but I guess a lot of people here may well be going to reInvent. I don't know if people want to try to coordinate some sort of meetup. I guess the Slack channel might be a good place to do that. But otherwise, happy Friday, everybody.
Thanks for the demo and thanks for the work. It looks very cool. See y'all later.
Thanks.
Bye.